Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on one of the most important, yet, often invisible materials in our lives. We're going to unravel the science behind the stuff that literally builds our modern world, polymers.
So what do all these things have in common? I mean, a plastic bottle, a sweater, the internet. They seem totally unrelated, right? Well, the answer is this hidden superstar material that is absolutely everywhere. And I promise you, by the end of this, you are going to see it everywhere you look.
Okay, so here's how we're going to tackle this. First, we'll cover the absolute basics, what these things even are. Then we'll get into their two main families, how they handle heat, and then we'll look at two incredible applications, the fibers we wear and the fibers that power the internet. So let's start with the tiny pieces that build these giant structures. To really wrap your head around this, you just need to get three core ideas down. So let's start with the absolute basics, the key terms that are going to make you sound like a polymer expert.
All right, it all begins with this one simple unit, the monomer. Seriously, think of it just like a single Lego brick, or maybe one bead for a necklace. On its own, it's just a small molecule, but its real power? Well, that gets unlocked when it joins up with others.
And that's where the magic starts, because when you take thousands, or hey, even millions of those monomer beads and you link them up, you get a polymer. It is a true giant in the molecular world, a macromolecule. The finished necklace, the completed Lego masterpiece, that huge size is what gives it all its incredible properties.
So what's the secret sauce that makes this all happen? Well, it's a chemical process, and it's called polymerization. This is the reaction, the actual event, that forges all those individual little monomers into one long, powerful chain.
So how does this actually work? Well, one of the most common ways is what you see here, addition polymerization. You start with these monomers that have a pretty reactive double bond. You give them a little push, some heat, some pressure, and pop. That double bond breaks open. That allows all the monomers to link up hand in hand to form a really long, stable chain. It's a total transformation.
Now, here's something really important to understand. Polymers aren't just some modern man-made invention. Nope, they've been around forever. And they're really split into two major families based on where they come from.
First up, natural polymers. Nature was the original master of this whole process. Think about it. Cellulose, which gives plants their structure, is the most abundant organic compound on Earth. And proteins? They're just polymers of amino acids, and they make up everything from the silk in a cocoon to the muscles in our own bodies.
And then you have synthetic polymers. These are the ones we cook up in labs to have very specific jobs. We can engineer them to be super strong, ridiculously lightweight, flexible, you name it. This is where we get everything from our plastic packaging and polyester shirts to the high-performance parts in our cars and phones.
Okay, so besides where they come from, there's another really critical way we classify polymers, and that's by how they act when things get hot. This behavior is totally key to understanding how we use them, and maybe even more importantly, how we can reuse them.
It all really boils down to one simple question. Can you melt it down and reshape it? Or, once it's made, is it set forever? The answer to that question puts synthetic polymers into two really important camps and decides if they can be easily recycled or if they're a one-time deal.
And this chart lays it all out, crystal clear. On one side, you have thermoplastics. Their chains are long but separate, so when you heat them, they can slide past each other. They get soft, they melt, and you can remold them. Think of a plastic water bottle. But on the other side, you've got thermosets. They form this rigid, 3D network of cross-linked chains. Once you heat them and they set, those bonds are permanent. Like the handle on a cooking pot. No way that's melting again.
All right, let's zoom in a bit. We're going to leave the huge, vast world of polymers for a second and focus on a specific type that we all interact with pretty intimately every single day: fibers.
And even in something as specific as rubber, that natural versus synthetic distinction really matters. Natural rubber, from a tree, is incredibly stretchy and flexible. But a synthetic rubber, like spandex, well, that's engineered for strength and durability, even if it gives up a little bit of that natural stretch. It's always a trade-off.
I mean, just look at this process. It's absolutely incredible. The silkworm is basically a tiny, living polymer factory. It pushes out this liquid protein, that's the monomer soup, and the instant it hits the air, it polymerizes, hardening into a single, continuous thread that it uses to build its cocoon. It's a perfect example of biology just harnessing pure chemistry.
Okay, I want you to take a good look at this number, 5%. Just burn that into your brain for a second.
It might not seem like much, but it is the key to a surprisingly simple test that can tell you almost instantly where a fabric came from.
So here's the deal. It's actually a super simple rule of thumb. Natural fibers, like cotton, they're thirsty. They love to soak up water. Synthetic fibers, not so much. And that scientific dividing line is the 5% threshold. If a fabric can soak up more than 5% of its own weight in water, you're holding a natural fiber. Simple as that.
Okay, for our last section, we're shifting gears to something truly revolutionary, a polymer application that has completely rewired our world. We're moving from fibers that keep you warm to fibers that carry light itself.
So, what you're looking at here is an optical fiber. And yeah, this hair-thin strand of super pure glass or plastic, that's a polymer too. But it's not designed for strength or softness. It's designed for one purpose and one purpose only: to be a perfect, high-speed highway for data that's encoded in pulses of light.
And the way it's built is it's genius, really. You have the glass core right in the middle. That's the superhighway for the light. Wrapped around that is the cladding, which acts like a perfect mirror, constantly bouncing the light back into the core so none of it escapes. And then protecting the whole thing is the buffer coating, which is just a tough plastic polymer jacket.
So why bother with all of this? Is it worth it? Oh, absolutely. The results are just staggering. Compared to old-school copper wires, optical fibers can carry way more information. They're completely immune to electrical interference from things like lightning, and they are incredibly tiny and lightweight. It's a total game changer.
And that right there is the big idea I want you to walk away with. The exact same fundamental science, linking small molecules into these long chains, is what gives us both a soft, natural silk fiber and the high-tech plastic backbone of our entire global communication network. And that's a wrap for this explainer. But it really leaves us with one final thought, right? As we get better and better at designing these materials, what's the next everyday object that's going to be completely reinvented by some new polymer supermaterial? Something to think about. Thanks for joining us.